One more question, if you
Yes,
permit me,
please.
on another vote that you're going to face, and that's the leadership review in January. Do you have a magic number?
No, I don't believe in magic.
Do you have a number at which you think you need in order to remain as leader?
I don't know.
Why not?
I'll be working to win over the people of the Conservative Party who will be there, and our message will be that I'm the leader that will bring forward the Canada that will restore the promise of the country.
Should I take anything, though, away from the fact that you don't want to put a number on it, as far as a lack of confidence that you'll be able to secure the full support of your party?
No.
Then why won't you put a number on it?
Because the people will decide, and then you'll see the number.
It was so long in the works and so long since we'd interviewed Mr. Poilievre that it jumped right over what I was saying. That was part of our interview over the weekend with the federal Conservative leader, the first one since he became leader of the party. In that exchange, you heard us reference the the leadership review, rather, that will take place in January in Calgary. I want to bring back the front bench to talk a little bit about that and how that review might inform the Conservative strategy over the next few months. We've got Brian Gallant, Lisa Raitt, Tom Mulcair, and Rob Benzie here. Lisa, I'll start with you. I know that he didn't want to put a number on it. I don't think there's many Conservatives out there who don't think he will pass that leadership review. How do you think, though, that review will inform what happens between now and then?
Well, he's going to win, and he's going to win handily. And I think the danger of putting a number is you don't want to give a number that's so high that you seem overconfident, but so low that you're inviting people to think, well, maybe I should be looking at him twice. So I can understand why he doesn't want to put a number out there. In fact, I don't think any leaders want to put numbers out there before they start, except Mark Carney. He seems to like setting targets all the time that he doesn't actually meet, and that's problematic, as you can see. So what's it going to mean in terms of moving forward? I think moving forward, it's going to culminate in a big check mark that Pierre's the person that's going to take them into the next election. He's going to have their full support, and away they go. And that's just basically what's going to happen in January. Remember, it's in Calgary, and it's cold, and I don't know whether or not everybody's going to show up, and Ontario is having their conference at the same time. So lots of things to say why you don't necessarily get a big turnout, but that may not necessarily be too bad.
Do you think, Brian, it ends up informing the strategies or the policies, though, that the leader or the party take, again, between now and then? There's sort of like two different ways to look at it. On immigration, for example, lots of what they're proposing right now is not what they proposed during the election. At the same time, you know, Mr. Poilievre is doing mainstream media interviews, not something that you would say necessarily would be directly aimed at appealing to your base. So how do you think this might inform, or the leadership review in and of itself might inform their strategy?
I think it will inform their strategy, but let me start by saying last week I said he should do more long-form interviews, and then he did one. So I certainly would like to think he was watching our panel, taking our advice. But I thought he did well, by the way. I think he's better in that format than maybe he gives himself credit for. And I think I don't believe in magic. It kind of reminds me of Chrétien. It doesn't address the question whatsoever, but you sort of chuckle. It becomes the headline, and you sort of forget what the question was. So he handled it all quite well. And I agree with Lisa's points and challenges of putting a number on it. And to your question, yes, I think it will inform what they do over the next little while. I'll take Lisa's analysis. If he feels quite confident about it, then maybe not as much. But to be sure, you don't want to show up and have any surprises. He will have a tendency to want to go a little more right, try to appease more to the right wing of the party that are probably the ones that will show up if there is a lower turnout at the leadership review convention. Then he'll certainly want those that are full of energy, those that are more willing to kind of come to one of those events to think that he's doing a good job. And going a little more to right on some policies may indeed make sense for that part of his political journey over the next few months. I'm not sure that's what he needs to do to try to do better when it comes to a federal election. But there you go with the balance that he's going to have to strike moving forward.
Tom, what do you think?
Well, I note with great interest that all of a sudden he does like these mainstream interviews on the media, like the one that you had with him over the weekend. And I think that for him politically, that's a good thing. He thought that he could do this alone. He and Jenny Byrne were just going to snub all the mainstream media. They were going to do podcasts. They were going to do little select things with people who think the same way he does. Well, that's not the way you add in politics. And Pierre Poilievre is starting to figure that out. He has changed. We've talked about it last week. You know, his return to the House has seen a slightly milder tone. That interview, I think, is another example of his ability to communicate complex ideas. And yes, he's going to get a big number. I'm with Lisa on this one. In January in Calgary, he's going to get a big number for the support. But the best way to make sure that that number is great is to ensure that he has support across the country and to raise his numbers vis-a-vis Mark Carney and to make sure that people like him more. And so he's got to do both at the same time. He's got to be able to, like move forward, pushing and pulling and bringing the thing, not just pushing people away that he doesn't like, bringing people into the tent. Guy who brought me into politics, a fellow named Claude Ryan, a wonderful man, always said to me, Mr. Mulcair, in politics, you got to remember, you're always looking to add, not to subtract. Poilievre has tried the subtraction thing. He's a subtractionist. He's a good artist at that. Now he's finally starting to learn, because there must be people around him giving him that message, and maybe he's figured it out on his own as well. You've got to start adding, and I think that that's what this is about.
Last word to you on this, Benzie.
Yeah, Vashti, I agree with Tom and Brian on this. I think the fact of the interview, and you did a great job, by the way, in question period yesterday with Poilievre, the fact of that interview it was almost news in itself. It shows that he has learned something from that humiliating April election defeat. Remember, on New Year's Day, Mr. Poilievre's party led the Liberals by 28 percentage points. They thought they could steamroll to victory without the mainstream media, and they failed to remember that the people who actually vote watch CTV, watch CBC, read The Star, read The Globe. These are educated people who are watching the show right now who are interested in the affairs of the day. They want to see what leaders have to say. And I thought it was so stupid for Poilievre's campaign to not allow the media on their campaign plane. They only had 4 questions a day from reporters that they selected. Sometimes you had some seriously fringe outlets asking questions, while mainstream outlets that reach millions of Canadians were shut out. It was a moronic strategy, and for that alone, they deserve to blow the 28 percentage point lead that they blew. So I think he's learned from that, and having an interview with you and taking some tough questions, it was good for him. It was good for public discourse. That's what Canadians want from their leaders.
Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the conversation tonight. As always, Brian Gallant, Lisa Raitt, Tom Mulcair, and Rob Benzie, our front bench.